Yeah. We're just going to give them a minute.
Is the cost of the income that you would get from the Airbnbs, will that be offset by who you then have to hire to do this, to monitor it? And I think we have a lot of problem with a lot of the codes. I mean, I've got chickens and ducks next door, and they're not allowed. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things that go on in the town that we're having trouble keeping up with now. And then it will be how the courts take it, because sometimes they go, the law's not written correctly, you know, and they don't then move the person along. I mean, I was surprised that you said 10 days, but that's if they were there just for less than 2 weeks, or less than 30 days, is it? So,
Less than a year.
less than a year?
New York State statute says if somebody resides in a residence for a year or
Can you,
less.
I'm sorry, can you get up to the microphone just because they can't hear you at
Sorry
home?
to put you on the spot. You opened it.
I'll give a brief lesson on landlord-tenant law, and then I'll give a 2-minute spiel about short-term rentals. We'll be in good shape. So in 2019, New York State changed their laws related to the notice given. For the record, my name is Frank J. Smith, the third attorney from the law office of Schilling and Smith in Carmel. First and foremost, I know you're expecting my partner, Mr. Schilling, tonight, and I apologize he's not here. Not to get too crazy into it, his daughter had a car accident today. She's okay, but he's obviously with her. So you're stuck with me in his stead.
Well, I was stuck with him calling me every day.
Well, I'm hoping that my 2 minutes will get it covered and we can move on from there. But as it relates to evictions, in 2019, New York State changed the law related to notice. Ordinarily, you could bargain that in a lease and say a 5-day notice, 15-day notice, et cetera, or in a month-to-month tenancy, it would be 30 days notice to terminate a tenancy. Now it's based upon the time of occupancy. So if somebody's been there for 30 days or less, you have to give them 30 days notice. If they've been there between, 1 year or less, you have to give 30 days notice. If they've been there between 1 year and 2 years, you have to give 60 days notice. And if you've been there for more than 2 years, you have to give 90-day notice. But in the instance of the squatters that we hear about on television all the time, that's what's called a non-landlord tenant eviction, because as a property owner, you have no relationship with that person. So you can give a 10-day notice, and after they don't vacate, you can bring your summary proceeding in the local justice court. So it's funny, a buddy of mine is a producer at Pix 11, and I texted him the other day, if you want a practitioner's point of view, I'm more than happy to hop on and talk to you about it. But most commonly up here, we deal with people who stay in after foreclosures. So there specifically is a post-foreclosure eviction process. It's a 10-day notice. It needs to be personally served. And if they're not out within 10 days, you go before your local judge. So it's really not as bad as the doom and gloom that they would make it sound like. New York City is a little bit different because you deal with housing courts and whatnot, but up here, I like those files. They're good for me.
Makes it sound so easy. If I'm a landlord, it ain't easy.
Well, if you are in need of legal services, I'd like, listen, sometimes it's best left to the quote experts. But first of all, thank you guys for the opportunity to speak. Madam Supervisor, I know my partner has pestered you to the point of getting us on the agenda here tonight, and I appreciate your time. As you guys are aware, there is no short-term rental law in the town of Kent right now. The current home occupation code refers to, quote, tourist homes. Tourist homes is an undefined term. It's unclear what a tourist home occupation is. And we've been reached out to by a number of people saying, what is a tourist home? Can we do short-term rentals? Can we do Airbnbs? And obviously, there's nothing in the books as of yet. Just a quick example, we have a client, her name is Nicole Glassman. She lives at 2 Woodland Drive, and we're scheduled to be in court here next Wednesday for a, quote, illegal tourist home. So I have mentioned to Mr. Walters and Mr. Looney, I am fully prepared to try that case because I don't think it can be prosecuted. Between myself and Bill, we've spoken to a number of people, and what we've realized is that based upon our community and what it's like here, and the lakes and being in the country, people like to visit this place. And on top of it, beyond visitors and the revenue that they bring, we realize that there's next to nowhere to stay in Putnam County as a whole. So if you have family that wants to come stay with you and you don't have room to put them up, they're likely staying in Danbury or Fishkill. So it's not very convenient, but that's probably a story for another day as it relates to hotels. And right now, the short-term rentals are unregulated. The only way in which the town is made aware of them is through complaints or going on your short-term rental websites and putting in the zip code and seeing what is actually listed in the town. There's pros and there's cons to it, right? We believe that the best way forward is to actually regulate it and to put in the books a law like Pauling or like Putnam Valley. And there's a number of other ones around. So what's nice is that you have the opportunity to pick from those other codes that have been enacted. We mentioned earlier that there are other towns that you'd likely like to hear from and see how it's going for them. And then you can kind of put it together and take the pieces that you like and go from there. So our pitch is not in one particular way or another, other than we'd like to see legislation be created. The legislation can safeguard the community. There would be a mechanism to get in touch with somebody who's registered, as the agent or owner, whoever it is. It would ensure safety. It's likely that you would want your building department to do an inspection to make sure that everything is up to code and there's proper safeguards in place. Also, there's a means of collecting revenue. So this could be an additional revenue stream for the town. I think that by creating this legislation, we would be cleaning up the issue of having no current regulations. I think it would take care of the undefined tourist home angle that I think the town is looking to prosecute these short-term rentals on right now. And you could provide visitors, family, not family, people from out of town, the ability to come in, spend their time, and more importantly, spend their money. I saw last year in the Putnam Times, there was an article related to the town deliberating short-term rentals. So I know that this is on your radar. I know that it's something that you're working on. And what I was going to offer is that if you were so inclined, I can do it through Ms. Tagliaferro also. There are a number of local towns that have codes in place, many of which you're already aware of. So I think it's important to look at those and see how you can take the pieces that you like and create a piece of legislation for the town of Kent. In conclusion, it's our recommendation that the town look into this and create a form of legislation. One way or the other, it gives you the ability to control your own destiny related to short-term rentals. And as an aside, as a kid who grew up in Lake Carmel, mom and dad are still right down the road. Mom is probably watching on TV tonight. It's pretty cool to think that people want to come visit here. I don't know if when I was a kid you would think of Lake Carmel or some of the other areas as a weekend getaway, but it's become that. So I think if we can take advantage of the opportunity to collect some revenue, give our residents the opportunity to maybe make some money themselves, then also bring people in, let it be in a nice, safe, regulated environment, that it would be a good thing for everybody. So I appreciate your time. I thank you. If you have any questions, I'll answer them, but if not, we can pick up our communications at a later date.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
That's how Lake Carmel started 100 years ago.